Hi, everybody. Welcome to CELPIP Live Season 6. Can you believe we've done this for 5 seasons so far? Let us know in the chat at which season you joined us. And then meanwhile, I will get started with our trivia question. How many medals did Canada win in the Paris Olympics? How many medals did Canada win in the Paris Olympics? Let me know the answer in the comments below. Please do not Google. You can also share this image and your answer on Instagram with the hashtag CELPIPLive, and we may feature it on our feed. Of course, I will reveal the response at the end of our segment. For now, let's start our show. If you're new here, CELPIP Live is an interactive YouTube series made to help CELPIP test takers like you understand a little bit more about the CELPIP test. So if you're about to write the test, please subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as we go live. In today's episode, we are hoping to help you improve your CELPIP writing scores. So if you'd like to level up your skills while also learning from previous test takers' responses, keep watching as we welcome Brandy. Hi, Brandy. How are you doing?
I am well. How are you doing, Ashwati?
I'm also doing pretty well.
Nice. Yeah, season 6. Hard to believe that we're back after a nice little summer break, right? Time flies, doesn't it? It's really good to be here too. Yeah, so
we already have a few people who've joined us. We had like upwards of 40 people. So I will let you get started.
perfect.
We have a lot of answers for our trivia also, which is exciting. I will definitely share the first right answer that we got when I reveal the response at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Brandy.
Excellent. Sounds good. Yeah, I see those answers coming in, so keep it up. I'm just going to share my little PowerPoint presentation for you here. So yeah, we're going to dive right in and kickstart season 6 of CELPIP Live with some writing practice. And today's episode is designed to allow everyone watching here the opportunity to fully understand what writing skills are going to look like at your beginner level, intermediate level, and advanced level of writing as it relates to the CELPIP test itself. So your CELPIP writing test is scored out of 12 levels, 12 being the top score that you might achieve here. So in today's episode, here's our plan. We're going to look at a real CELPIP test question from a past CELPIP test. You'll never see this question moving forward. But after we've read through this question, I'm going to share with you actual test takers' answers. So parts of their answers, we'll call them excerpts. And we're going to start at the level 5. This is sort of your beginner level writer. We'll examine the writing skills that people at the level 5 are demonstrating. And then we're going to do the same at level 9, which is your intermediate level. And we'll finish off with your level 12 advanced. So by the end of today's episode, I sincerely hope that all of you, you've got 2 tasks to do for me today. I want you all to think about where your current writing skills lie. So if you're working more towards the beginner, intermediate, or advanced, so that's step 1. You need to have a good sense of where you are right now. And then, of course, you need to also understand what your own CELPIP writing goal score is going to be. We all take CELPIP for different reasons. So if you're hoping to achieve a level 9 in writing, for instance, you want to pay very close attention to the writing skills in particular that the level 9 test takers are demonstrating, so that you can practice those skills at home and hope to demonstrate them as well on your own CELPIP test. So I'm going to share with you the question right now that we're going to use for the entirety of today's lesson. So if you're new to CELPIP, by the way, the whole test is done on the computer, and this is exactly what your writing task 2 is going to look like. You'll see in the top left corner, it tells you we're doing task 2, and this is responding to a survey question. Now, on the real test itself, you would have 26 minutes to read this question and type out your answer right into the computer screen. But for today, we're not going to worry about time. We're going to have a nice in-depth discussion about writing skills instead. So on the left-hand side, I'll maybe read this question aloud to us just to keep us all together for time. But on the left-hand side, you would have to read this information first as it sets up the question. So you've got some background and you'll have more ideas about what you'll write about. So the name of this question, we'll call that, is coffee shop hours. And on the left here, it says, your university coffee shop is considering closing on Sundays because they are not making enough money to stay open that day. There are no other coffee shops near the campus. The university asked you to respond to an opinion survey. So on the right-hand side here, it tells you to choose the option that you prefer. Why do you prefer your choice? And explain the reasons for your choice. Write about 150 to 200 words. So on your actual CELPIP test, you would use your mouse and click in that little bubble, either beside option A or option B. And this selects the position or the opinion that you're going to support and give reasons for why you feel that way all throughout the writing. So if somebody were to choose option A for this question, they'd be supporting the position that they think the coffee shop should be allowed to close on Sundays. Option B is just the opposite. They would be stating that they want the coffee shop to stay open on Sundays. So that's the question, that's the background. When the raters, and again, in the present moment, there are at least 4 human raters that are going to be reading through your writing task submissions after you type them into your computer screen and they get submitted. So the raters themselves are looking for you to demonstrate as many strengths as you can across these 4 skill categories. We call them dimensions. So this first one that I'm pointing to right now is all about your content details and your coherence. So the content itself, think of it this way. The more interesting, the more developed, well-explained and specific all of your reasons are in this particular test answer, the higher the quality of the writing, and then the higher the score as well. Your coherence just speaks to how well the ideas fit together. Vocabulary is the second skill that we need to do some studying on at home. So when you come into the testing room, we're hoping that the words that you're including in the written responses, first of all, make sense. They have to be accurate so the reader understands your meaning. That's step 1, and it's really important. The second step to achieve a higher score level in writing would be to choose words that are more interesting, more precise, more descriptive, and so on. The more variety you can demonstrate to the raters, the better your score as well. Your readability is all about basically your grammar and your writing mechanic rules. So think about sentence structure, think about paragraph skills, all of your grammar skills like subject-verb agreement, verb tenses, and so on, spelling, punctuation, you name it. All of that will be assessed here under readability. And last but not least, task fulfillment will be important. So the raters need to make sure you have completely answered the test question. They also need to make sure that the details you've included are relevant. So they have to be on topic and actually address the question from the test. Your tone is considered. So you need to decide if you're writing a formal response or a casual one. And then word count also would be considered. Now, even though your score that you get on both of your writing submissions, even though all 4 of these skills categories will be assessed. So the raters, again, they want to see as many strengths as you can demonstrate across all 4 of them. That's going to help them give you a score. In today's episode, we only have time to do the top 2. We're going to focus our time on content and vocabulary as they apply to levels 5, 9, and 12. We'll save the grammar things and the task fulfillment elements for another episode. So starting off, let's start with sort of our beginner level. So this is your level 5, and I did want to touch on content first. It's the first category on the rater's checklist. So at the level 5 writing, usually writers can express their main idea. So this would be, I guess, presenting their opinion in this question. Should the coffee house be open or closed on Sundays? So we need that main position. And then the ideas that they present at level 5 also will be related back to that topic. So I'm going to show you a little excerpt or just a small section of a real test taker's answer to this exact question when they had this on their CELPIP test. This is a level 5 response. And I think what I'll do is I'll maybe read these little excerpts aloud to you, because especially as we get into our level 9 and 12, there might be some vocabulary words that you're not familiar with. So I'll read them out so you've got at least the pronunciation. I will preface this by saying at level 5, we're going to see more grammar and writing mistakes. And that's okay for now. We're not going to worry too much about grammar in today's episode, as I mentioned. But as I read this to you, Ken, your first job for me, please, is just in your own minds at home. Make sure you understand this person's opinion. It has to be very clear whether they want the cafe to remain open or closed on Sunday. That's step 1. So let's find that first. This level 5 writer has said, I think it's allowed to close on Sunday because almost the student, they don't have classes on Sunday. we must understand the coffee shop, they don't earn money. Because if they open on Sunday, they have many bills to pay. Example, they labor and they facilities. So labor, I'm guessing, would be like the staff salaries or wages. And facilities, that's a great word for level 5 especially. That's probably things like keeping the lights running, the electricity bills and the rent, and so on and so on. Okay, so again, level 5 content. Remember, they're capable of presenting, in general, their main idea. So I'm hoping you saw that right away. It's very directly stated, right? I think it's allowed, meaning the cafe should close on Sundays. So that is sort of our main position here. And this level 5 writer does give us 3 relevant details that relate back to why the cafe should be closed. So I'll quickly identify them for you, but then I also want us to consider if these ideas are well connected or well developed. So the first reason this level 5 writer says that we should close the shop on Sunday is because students don't have classes. So that's what I would call a very relatable or relevant detail. It's logical. It makes sense to support their opinion. They then reason that the coffee shop doesn't earn money because students don't have classes. This is probably the best detail. They give examples of bills that they have to pay. So again, at level 5, think of it this way. A level 5 writer generally, as I say, gets the job done. They answer the question. The ideas make sense. But oftentimes, what's remarkable at this level as we're beginning and developing our language skills is that we don't take the time to fully connect and explain these ideas. So it does rely on the reader, which is us in this case, or the raters in the real test, to sometimes make those connections themselves. So when we say students don't have classes, the coffee house doesn't earn money, we understand what they're getting at is that because there aren't students on campus coming into the shop and spending their money, the coffee house won't make as much of a profit. So that would be taking these 2 first ideas and elevating the connections, which is what we see in level 9. So again, level 9 will still support their position, of course. Every level has to explain what opinion they're choosing. So they'll explain whether they want the coffee house to remain open or closed. But at the level 9, we're now jumping 4 whole levels. We just saw level 5, beginner level, way up into the intermediate level. The details that we include here will still be relevant. They'll still support the position we've chosen. But what we will see here is that these ideas are so much more specifically developed with more description, more detail. The connections between these ideas is going to be a lot more apparent than what we just saw from the level 5, which just sort of lists the relatable ideas. So again, here's an example. This is a part of the level 9 test taker's response from their CELPIP test. So again, I'll read it out. And I want you to try to identify the position. Does this person want the coffee house to remain open or closed? So they said, I understand that the coffee shop isn't as profitable on this day of the week, meaning Sunday, but perhaps instead of closing the shop, you could look at alternative ways of profiting from the space. I know plenty of students would be interested in eating there if the shop started selling sandwiches as well as the small selection of pastries currently on offer. All right, so digest that. There are no grammar mistakes for me to fix. So that looks pretty good. I think we get the idea a little bit more clearly as a result at this level. But the person's position, you'll notice, doesn't directly start off the response as we saw from level 5. So remember how the level 5 writer just very simply said, I think the coffee house should be allowed to remain closed on Sunday. Those words were taken pretty much from the test instructions. But what this test taker is doing at that intermediate level 9 is they're being a little bit more creative, almost abstract. So the position in yellow is indeed arguing that they'd like to keep the coffee house open, but only if they can find an alternative way of making money. So you can see already just the way of approaching this question is showing higher level critical thinking. We're not just saying open it, close it. What we're saying here is, I think we can keep it open as long as we make some changes and come up with a plan. So again, that line of thinking is showing a greater development of skills to begin with. And what leads up to this really well-worded opinion is a little bit of background context. So if you haven't yet started practicing this at home, I encourage you to try. Sometimes just one little idea or two before you get to your actual position just puts the whole writing piece into context for your reader. This person's identifying that they understand the coffee shop isn't profitable on Sundays. So they're giving that fact first And then that's leading them to suggest, well, because we're not making money Sunday, why don't we come up with an alternative? And then that leads them directly to their first main idea here of support. This is the alternative or the new idea that they're suggesting from their own imaginations. They're suggesting that if we started selling sandwiches at this cafe, that might actually draw people in. And then they connect that to a fact that already exists. So according to this writer, the cafe is already selling what they call a small selection of pastries. Okay, so again, relevant ideas here. Level 5 also had relevant ideas, but you can see whereas level 5 again listed those ideas without a lot of connection, in level 9 intermediate level, we're able to present that position and really solidly connect our ideas together. So that's intermediate. We're going to go much further now up to the level 12 content. So at the advanced level, we're still going to see all the skills that we were looking at in level 9. We're still going to give a position. We're still going to support it with very relevant details. But what marks an advanced level writer is, again, the extension or the amount of detail that they add in. Remember, the more specific your ideas are, the more interesting your response will be. And that's going to help you out. So here's a little section or excerpt from a level 12 test taker. So same thing, I'll read this out loud to you. And I want you to try to pick out for yourself some of the features of the content here that we're seeing at a more advanced level than what we saw in the level 9. So this one starts, Café du Maire is first and foremost a business establishment whose main priority is to make a profit. University students who claim that it is unfair for the cafe to close on Sundays have not considered the fact that it might be financially detrimental for Café du Maire to continue running its operations on Sundays, especially when, for obvious reasons, Sunday is when they have the slowest traffic. Remaining open on Sundays might also lead to cost cuts in other areas, such as labor and supplies, which might result in inferior customer service, as well as a drop in the quality of food. Very high level. You can see why this is advanced. And something that this level 12 writer does a little bit similarly to the level 9 is that before they present their opinion, which I've highlighted in yellow for you, again, they've given us some background information leading up to it. So they're just developing the description a little further to make it more interesting and to give the reader more evidence to understand their position. So the position in yellow identifies that it would be financially detrimental, meaning the money, it's going to cost too much money to continue operating this cafe on Sundays. So they are also arguing that we really shouldn't stay open on Sundays because it's just too expensive. That's basically the position. And what this level 12 advanced writer has thought to do is actually give a name for the cafe. We did not see that in the level 9 or the level 5. If any of you have ever taken one of the free Zoom webinars that I deliver, I do a lot of Zoom webinars on a monthly basis, free for anyone to watch. I'm always harping on you in the writing to put these specific names and details in at any level. I honestly think it's probably one of the easiest ways to sneak in some specific detailed comment. Anyone can think of a name. So Café du Maire, I don't know if that's a real coffee name or not, coffee house name. It doesn't matter if it's a real name or not. You could make one up. But just by having it here, you can see just how much more focused the answer becomes. So again, please try to think of these details as you're studying from this point forward and add those details in when you can. So we've got the name of our coffee house. They also borrow a similar strategy that we saw earlier. They too describe that this is a business. So we have to make a profit in order to remain open. So that's kind of leading into why they're stating flat out, we're not making money on Sundays, so therefore we should close. But what this level 12 writer is doing is giving us 4 reasons, connecting as to why the operations aren't going to work on Sundays. The first one is the same as what our level 5 test taker did actually. Sundays when they have the slowest traffic. Level 5 test taker thought that too. Students don't come to school on Sundays. So that makes sense. It's relevant and logical. Also similar to the level 5 test taker, you'll recall. Here we're saying that because we don't have traffic in the cafe, we have to cut other areas. They also cite labor and supplies. And thinking back to our level 5 test taker, they mentioned, I think it was something to do with facilities and labor as well. So similar ideas. But again, what we're doing here at the advanced level is we're going beyond. We're now connecting to the next step, which would be negative consequences. So all of this is cause and effect. If we have to cut down on labor, meaning if we don't have enough staff on site and our supplies dwindle, so we don't even have as many products to sell, they're suggesting 2 negative consequences will result. The first one is inferior customer service. So in other words, the customers coming in, they won't have the friendly or adequate service that they deserve. And of course, the quality of food would also decrease if we have to cut down on supplies. So again, all 3 test takers that we saw today, level 5, 9, and 12, they all gave a solid answer. They gave a position, they gave relevant and logical reasons to support it. But as we've gone through the ranks from beginner to intermediate to advanced, you can see just the level of connection, the level of detail, and how fully explained these details are seems to just continue to increase as we move forward. All right, so that's your content, little blurb on that. I want to touch on some vocab, and then, and you're gonna help me with this actually. I've got some vocabulary exercises I'd like to do as we move forward. But at level 5, let's start back off at the beginner level. So vocabulary at level 5 generally is accurate. So we will understand the ideas, but the words tend to err more on words I would call commonly day-to-day language. So we won't see a ton of really precise or high-level vocab at this level, which makes sense because we're just learning. We're developing our skills at this level. So here is your level 5 vocab. I'm going to read this out loud to you, and as I'm doing that, can I ask each of you watching to maybe pick out 1 or 2 vocabulary words from this exact sample? You're welcome to share it right in our chat box there, and Ashwati can read a few of them out. But I'm curious to see if you can identify some words that are, again, just a little more interesting or descriptive than others. All right, so that's your job as I'm reading. Try to type in a word or 2 to share in the chat box, and we'll see what you come up with, and then I'll show you the words that I noticed too. So this one starts, this is the ending part of this person's response. So they've said, in conclusion, I think the coffee shop absolutely has to be open on Sundays. After the work week, people need a little fun. For me, it's best to take coffee and talk hours and hours with my friend. Today, we need to enjoy the time. Right, ideas make sense. You notice I did a couple of little corrections as I read, just to smooth out the grammar points, because I don't want to get into too much grammar today. I'm going to identify 1 example of a precise vocabulary word just to give you a sense of what I'm asking you to do right now. And I apologize if I'm stealing one of your ideas. I probably am. So right off the top, the transition here in conclusion is a very strong and precise way to let the reader know this is the last thing I have to say. So that's well done. I'm glad that this person's included that word. Now I'll give you just a few more moments, and Ashwati, again, remember people, I can't see your screen. I can't see the words that you're typing into the chat box, if any. So I will rely on Ashwati to read out any answers that you might be sharing today. I'll give you just a second. If you could find a few vocab words that you feel also are precise and interesting. Do we have any there yet?
Hello. We have 1 option that says absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And the question, so somebody's asking what the question is. The question is that from this passage or this paragraph, you have to find a vocabulary word that's very specific to the topic that that the test taker is responding to.
Right, yeah. So again, remember all of your answers on CELPIP writing, the vocabulary you include has to be accurate, meaning the words have to make sense. The meaning has to be correct so that the reader understands your point. That's step 1. Step 2 is, yeah, okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say step 2, what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to find other words that, yes, they're correct in meaning, but they are just a little bit higher level. They're more interesting. They're more precise. They're more specific. So they're demonstrating this test taker's best vocabulary. Absolutely was the other word that I noticed too. And honestly, those are the only 2 words in this little excerpt that show that kind of precision that we're really looking for to get up into intermediate levels. We have
more suggestions.
Sure.
So Akshay says work week as one of the vocabulary suggestions, and then we have little fun.
Okay.
And then best take, and then the word best take, and then yeah, and then hours.
Okay.
Anyway, those are the different ones.
Sure. So what I'm going to suggest right now, I don't agree with all of your answers, but I am pleased that you put them into the box. So thank you for doing that. In conclusion, and absolutely, are definitely this test taker's best examples of the vocabulary that they are able to produce at their current level of development. Again, they both are used correctly, so the meaning's there. The grammar is also correct for that matter. But again, they show that focus. When we hear in conclusion, we know this is the last thing we're writing about. So that's what I mean by focused and specific. The other words I highlighted here, I took a few parts of your answers, like little fun together. Little is very common. Take coffee is not very natural, right? I didn't highlight work week, but maybe I should have. I would agree with you there. Work week is pretty okay. The words fun, coffee, and enjoy that I've highlighted, again, parts of your answers, they definitely make sense. The meaning is accurate. But these words are what, again, we would call sort of very common. They're words we would use in sort of a regular day-to-day communication style. So at the level 5, consistently, we'll see many more of these common words, day-to-day words. We won't see so very many precise words. So that's sort of what marks a level 5 person's vocabulary, because again, we're still learning. We're still developing our skills. So now when I show you the level 9 vocab, you are going to see a marked increase in the number of precise words, as well as the interesting choice and the variety of words. So let's get right into that now. So at the level 9, the vocabulary still will make sense, but again, it will just be so much more descriptive and precise for the most part. We'll still see some common words and whatnot, but overall, you'll see a lot more precision. So once again, I'll read this out loud. I ask you to try to pick out a couple of words here that are very, again, precise and focused and interesting. And we'll see if you can identify some that stand out and demonstrate this test taker's best vocab. So this one says, being closed on Sundays would allow the employees to attend church services, play sport, continue on with their studies, or simply chill out. The university has been kind enough to continue operating throughout the week. A 24-hour caffeine detox is, I believe, quite acceptable. So lots and lots of precise and descriptive words that you could choose from. I'm going to give you one example, again, to try to really get us to understand what I mean by precise, like employee. We didn't just say person. Person would be a very common, generic word that doesn't give as much detail at all. We specified we're talking about the employees or the staff members. So I would call that a precise word choice. Do you see any other examples here of words that impress you? Words that show interest, description, development, precision, all of these higher level skills that we're looking at to achieve an intermediate level 9 or higher.
Yes. So let me just share the ones that we have so far. We have chill out, and then acceptable.
Yeah, I had that one too.
Caffeine detox, which was what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And then operating.
Yeah.
Quite acceptable.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, operating acceptable caffeine detox. I'm just trying to look for something throughout. Somebody suggested throughout.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that's pretty much the same answers. I think we did get everything though.
Yeah, nice. I had all of those answers, and I'm going to actually present just a few more ideas as well. So you notice I highlighted my second example here, attend church services. And the reason I highlighted that because it is such a specific detail. And the verb attend is a strong action verb as well. So what you will also see at the intermediate level and advanced, I would argue, is that we're not just focusing on one word at a time anymore. Remember back to level 5, we might have had like fun, coffee, enjoy. So there were a few words we could pick out. But by the time we get to our intermediate level of development, we're able to take multiple words in English and put them together, sometimes in groups of 2 or 3, to create this more interesting higher level meaning. So that's why I said attend church services. Like that's very specific. So I thought those words were definitely worthy of being mentioned. Sport is not as strong, but it's still precise. I had studies. Chill out is great. And that's why the person put the chill out in quotation marks. They're recognizing that this is a casual expression. So they're marking it as such. And the university continuing to operate, I also agree with that. Caffeine detox is my favorite. So we're taking the notion of coffee And we're suggesting what might happen if we don't have the caffeine hit anymore and acceptable. So a huge difference in ability from level 5 to level 9. And this takes practice. It takes lots of reading and lots of practice yourself using different words to convey meaning. But this is partly what your intermediate level might look like. Level 12, last one for vocab here. We're still going to see the same skills we saw at level 9. There will be lots of interesting, precise, descriptive words. But what an advanced level writer is capable of doing is presenting almost like their own personal writing style. So they're very capable of selecting different words, sometimes common words, sometimes formal words, sometimes specialized terms that they're actually making up in the context of their answer to produce meaning that we'll all understand. So again, this takes tremendous amount of practice to get to this level, but I'd like to show you what I mean here by some specialized words. So here's our level 12 test taker. They start, same thing, I'll read it out. If there's any words that impress you, feel free to put them in our chat box. There might be some new words here today that you've never heard before either. So I'll quickly describe those to you if you'd like. This one says, firstly, there is a security issue if students are forced to leave the university grounds to get coffee and food. As a female, I feel vulnerable walking outside of the university grounds where there are no security guards. Secondly, students are notoriously time poor. Having to spend an extra half hour getting to and from a coffee shop is time which could be otherwise allocated to studying. So again, I'll start us off just to get the ball rolling. You probably have some words there you'd like to share. Security issue, the word issue is a little bit common. I'll give the test taker that, but security, I think, is starting to focus the main idea of this opening paragraph. So I thought I'd highlight that just as a good precise way to introduce our main idea. We are talking about security challenges. What other words come to your mind? And you might even find groups of words. There might be a few together, 3 or 4, as a matter of fact. Yeah, let's hear them.
So we have allocated.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have vulnerable. Then we have notoriously.
Keep going.
Notoriously is a popular one.
Notoriously. Yeah.
And then I'm trying to see if there's otherwise.
Absolutely.
Vulnerable. Mm-hmm. I really liked one word that a phrase that I don't think anybody has said yet, and I'm waiting for somebody to say before I say it. Okay. Concern. Yes. And then, so I'm going to wait for a couple more seconds, but you, Brandy, already know which word I'm talking about. Sure. Okay, so security issue, vulnerable, notoriously, and allocated. I really liked time poor.
Yes. Yeah, that was my favorite.
Which is such a smart way to say that you don't have enough time.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I'm going to use this with my family.
Yeah, you can even say notoriously time poor. So let me highlight all of your choices. I had those as well. I had a few others. And some of you gave me, a lot of you gave me one word at a time. And I'm trying to remind you, it's not just one word. Usually at the intermediate to advanced, we're taking groups of words, 3 or 4 of them, and we're putting them together to make meaning. So again, look at it from that lens. It's not just about individual word choices. More advanced level writing looks at the big picture. So again, I've highlighted some sections of this person's writing. So even that second line where they are forced to leave the university grounds, just that idea as a whole is very precise. You all have vulnerable. And if you're vulnerable, it just means you don't feel safe. So that's an excellent and interesting word choice. And again, security guards is a precise type of person that fits into this first idea. In that second paragraph, so this example, you all came up with notoriously, which is a fabulous word. If you are notorious for something, it means you're very well known for it. That's all that word means, but it's really advanced level. The words time poor are not, it's not a common English expression, but this is the point I'm making about advanced level vocab. A person working at this level is capable of taking common, simple words like time and poor and putting them together in this way to construct the meaning that makes sense for their answer. So clearly this person is arguing they would like the coffee house to remain open because that whole second paragraph argues if students have to actually go off campus to get coffee, they're taking that extra half hour, they're wasting it instead of studying because they're not very good planning out their time. That's what the idea means in simple terms. But by saying notoriously time poor, They're expressing that idea concisely and in a very creative way. So this is that specialized term or the personal writing style that I'm getting at. Again, most of us wouldn't even think of putting those words together in that order, but at the advanced level, those words come more easily to us. And then otherwise was a great choice. It's a high level conjunction, but I think that whole section goes together. Otherwise allocated to studying. All of those words make sense. In other words, you're devoting your time to study. So again, advanced level vocab just for a taste. So I hope you've got, I know we've just gone through a lot of information, but I hope you've got a pretty decent understanding now about the content and vocab skills that you'll want to perhaps work on yourself at home to achieve whatever level you're aiming for. So we're going to put this into practice now, see what you've learned from our discussion so far. And I'm going to place 3 different little excerpts of responses up here on our sticky notes on screen. And what I'd like you to do is read it quickly to yourself and then try to guess the level. It's either a level 5, a level 9, or a level 12. You're very welcome to use grammar and writing as well to guide you if you're familiar with that, but we'll base our assumptions mostly on our vocab and content since that's what we were discussing. So here's our first one. Have a quick little skim. And when you're ready, put the number in the box that you think this person earned. Is it a 5, a 9, or a 12? I'm curious to see what you think.
Hi. So we have one answer. Okay, now we have 2. 9.
Okay.
2 guesses for 9.
Okay.
And then I'll wait for others. So far we have 9.
Yeah, so again, beginner, intermediate, advanced. 5, 9, 12. Low, middle, high. However you want to think of it. Yeah, so just think of the skills we were talking about.
9s. We have a couple 12s.
Okay.
Someone said, Arinola said 10, and then we have somebody who said 7. Oh wait,
Yeah.
what's 7? Yeah, here. Somebody who said 7. Okay, so we have a lot of answers now. 10, 9, 7, and 12.
All right, so the reason why I'm asking you to understand what writing looks like at any one level is this is common. And none of us are raters, and by the way, I'm an instructor. I'm not a rater either. But again, I've worked with so many responses that I myself have an understanding of what these levels look like. And that's what I'm hoping that you'll be able to do once you're practiced at it. Because if you want a level 9 in your writing, you need to know what a level 9 looks like. So we do have to tell the difference between these levels. This is a level 9. So if you guessed that right off the top, I think we had a couple of early guesses saying, this looks like level 9. You're absolutely correct. So remember, a level 9 writer will present their opinion. They'll give some relevant facts and so on, and they'll start to connect those ideas and expand upon them with some description. I'm going to show you the second response, and you'll be able to maybe compare them. So just do a quick skim read by yourself, please. And when you're ready, let us know what level you think this is. Is it a 5? Is it a 9? Is it a 12? Those are the only 3 levels we're looking at, by the way. So it can't be a 10 or a 7 or anything else. Just for today, we're just doing 5, 9, 12.
Okay, we have a couple 5s. 5, 5. 5. Yeah, strong 5s.
Yeah, exactly. Level 5 tends to be a lot easier to differentiate from the others. Again, we didn't focus on grammar and writing today, but you will notice in level 5, the ideas, you can usually make sense of them. But you will also notice many little grammar mistakes, sometimes some major ones too. So if anything else, the number of grammar errors here might have tipped you off that this was a lower level. But again, also the ideas, as you can see, are just not developed as succinctly or precisely as we saw in level 9. So let's look at our final example. Have a quick little read here and let me know what you think. Level 5, level 9, level 12.
Okay, so yeah, strong 12s across the board. 12, 12, 12, 12,
Good.
12,
Good.
12, 12.
Excellent. Nice. Okay, so for those of you that maybe thought that first example that I've labeled as level 9, but some of you thought maybe that was a 12, I want you to have a quick look even at the first sentence of your level 9 and your level 12. And you can really see the difference in those levels, right? So again, this is important for all of us to understand. If you want that level 9, this is kind of the skills that you're wanting to work on. If you want to go for that advanced level, you can see the difference. And again, it takes time and practice to develop these skills, but at least now we have a sense about what's expected there. So we're going to do one last activity, and I want your help to take this level 5 response. This is a new level 5 that you've not yet seen. And we're going to revise it together with a focus on these content and vocabulary ideas. So remember, on your real test, you'll have 26 minutes to type out your whole answer from beginning to end. So what I'm hoping you'll do is you'll save yourself a good 2 or 3 minutes at the end to read your work back to yourself. And I want you to double check that you've included these really strong skill sets we've been working on today to maximize your score on the test. So you'll see I've got a little sticky note on the left of our screen here. And number 1 there, the first thing we have to double check we've got is an opinion. So again, I'll read this whole thing out loud to you. And we need to, first of all, make sure if we know this person wants the coffee shop to be open or closed on Sundays. So they're saying, my opinion is that the coffee shop needs to be open on Sundays. That's the opinion right there. I'm going to take a moment and highlight it. All right. I'm also going to take a moment and correct that little tiny subject-verb agreement error. There, needs to be open on Sundays. I will give a few reasons about this item, they say. Lots of people have a favorite coffee shop when found friends and talking about life. Men or women use their coffee time talking with coffee. Education system. Today, young person use coffee shop for learning. Almost everybody shop have free internet and then can use. So there's some little grammar mistakes there. And again, we'll tidy those up as we go. But what I do want us to make sure we can find now, step number 2, is that we've got some reasons to support why we want this coffee house to be open on Sundays. So these would be the main ideas of the response. There are 2 of them. I'm going to find the first one for us, and I'd like you to please find the second one and type it into the chat box. So the very first reason why this person wants that coffee house to be open on Sundays basically deals about talking and socializing with your friends. So that's why they want the house open Sunday. Okay, can you look at that bottom section? It starts with the word education and do a quick little skim read of those 2 sentences. What's the overall idea here? What's the second main reason that this person would like the coffee shop open Sundays? Even one
Hi.
word would, yeah.
We have one suggestion, find friends.
That was the first one. Yep, that was the first one that we've already talked about. Talking about life,
Okay.
finding, socializing, perfect. Yep, yep.
Learning center.
Yeah, that's it. Right there.
Learning.
You got it, yeah. So again, and this, depending where everyone who's watching, depending where your writing skills are right now, this is something that's really important that we all need to do. Once we've got that main position, which is opening the coffee shop Sundays, we have to be able to identify where the main ideas fall. So 2 of them that I've circled for us. Talking or socializing with friends. And the second one is all about learning. So going to this coffee house looks like for free internet. So again, level 5, keep in mind, we've got our position. We've got 2 ideas that make sense and are relatable. So that part's been done, characteristic at the level 5. What I'm going to present to you now, though, are some higher level skills that will help us achieve intermediate to advanced level skills, really, from levels 9 to 12. So rather than just start with our opinion directly, like we've done there, what I'd like is to try, practice this at home if you can. Let's take those 2 main ideas we've already identified, so socializing and studying, we could say, and we're going to start the response that way. We're going to identify these reasons first and have that lead into our opinion. So by doing this, we're creating actually a longer, more complex sentence structure. This is technically a compound sentence, but we're focusing the reader's attention right away on which ideas will be discussed further down. Again, these are intermediate level skills. So I've added the opening line myself. It just says coffee shops are common places where people meet and then to socialize or study. So I took this test taker's ideas right out of the body part of the paragraph and just labeled them up top. And then there's the opinion. So they should stay open on Sundays. And as soon as we're able to present our position this way, we no longer need little tiny simple sentences like this. I will give a few reasons about this item. We don't have to say that anymore because we've already explained. We have 2 reasons why we want the coffee house to be open. And those exact reasons are because we want to socialize and study. So these are definitely higher level skills. So now that we've got those main ideas covered, what I do want to do is revise the first main idea. So here's the lesson on coherence. Notice how we mentioned socializing first in that top line. And I'm going to keep those words bolded. Socialize, study, so we can easily refer to them. Socialize was mentioned first. So what that means is the first detail that we're going to expand upon has to talk about socializing. It would make no sense to start talking about studying because that comes second, the way we structured it on the page. So socialize, study, in the paragraph, we're going to talk about socialize, study in that exact same order. This will be helpful for coherence. So I put a little red box around that first idea that talks about socializing. There are a couple of little tiny grammar mistakes. So what I'm going to do really quickly here is I'm just going to make a few revisions to get past the grammar so we can focus just on the content and vocab, as that's what our content is about today. So the words in yellow highlight here are words that I've either added in or revised just to make the writing a bit more natural. So this person's idea basically says, lots of people have a favorite coffee shop where they can talk about life. Men or women use this coffee time talking with coffee. So you'll notice in that second sentence, we've got the word coffee twice. We've also got coffee shop and the sentence right above that. We don't want to repeat the same vocabulary word 3 times within 2 sentences. And when you look at our first sentence we revised about how people have a favorite coffee shop where they can talk about life, this second sentence says the exact same thing. It's dealing with men and women meeting in the coffee shop to talk over coffee. But we said that exact same idea in the sentence right above it. So once again, for content, we want to make sure every idea we present gives a very clear idea. There's no need to repeat the same meaning again, just using different words. So we'll just take that sentence right out of the response. That's the easiest way to fix it. And instead now, we've got a whole pile of words, like a word count, because we can only write up to 200 words on the test. So we've just given ourselves back several words that we could use now to actually add some detail. That's what's missing. So at the level 5, we don't often have a lot of specific details. But by level 9 to 12, we do. So I'm going to open this to you again, and I hope you've got your imaginations ready to go here. So if we're suggesting we can talk about life events at a coffee house, can I ask some of you right now to suggest in our chat box, what are some topics of conversation that friends would likely just get together and talk about as they're meeting for coffee? Can you think of any specific ideas? If all we say is let's talk about life, that's pretty general. But if we can say, for instance, what are some interesting topics? And I'll give you one of mine maybe to get you thinking as your ideas are coming in. One of my greatest passions in life is to travel. I love traveling and I've been to many beautiful parts of the world. So I would use that and add that into my little paragraph here. I would say we can talk about life events like vacation plans. That would be my first specific detail that I could think of. Now I'm asking you to come up with one of your passions or one of your interests. What would be interesting to discuss with your friends? Give you some time to think on that. Ashwati, you're welcome to tell us one of yours if you'd like.
Sorry, I'm on mute. So we have like some suggestions. So somebody said sport.
Yes.
Somebody said new job.
Perfect.
Somebody said insurance.
Okay. Sure. Yep. Wouldn't be mine, but it might be yours.
Shopping.
Okay. Yeah.
Life experience, lifestyle, hobbies, politics.
Ooh, politics. Sure. Some people like to talk about that. You have to be good friends, though. Otherwise, arguments happen, I think. Yeah, good.
I mean,
good.
arguments happen all the time.
I know.
Love life.
Yeah, when we get that one, like relationships.
Planning trips. I think this is what I would also talk about. Planning trips is probably my choice, and then food.
Food, my God. Yeah, I hadn't thought
For
of that.
sure.
That's a good one. For sure, good. So you all gave excellent ideas. I would say pick 2 or 3 at the most. You don't want to go on and list 10 because you've got other details to get into. So I just chose 3 random ones. Somebody said hobbies. I put health. I'm a runner, so that often comes up when I'm out with friends. So I'll read sort of the whole section now. Says lots of people have a favorite coffee shop where they can talk about life events like vacation plans, hobbies, and health. So we've added those 3 precise details. Again, we could have added any one of your suggestions there as well to make this more interesting. This goes up a little bit above now where that level 5 would sit for content. So that's the first one done about socializing and talking. Again, looking at the bolded words up top, our second main reason has already been identified as we study at the coffee house. And that fits into this little section at the bottom of the paragraph. So I boxed it for us. So we're talking about learning. So again, there are a couple of little grammar mistakes I'm going to quickly fix for us just so we can focus on content. So I took out those 2 words that were adding a bit of confusion, and the yellow highlighted sections here are words I've either revised or added in just to smooth up the grammar. But right now it says, today, young people use coffee shops for learning. Almost every shop has free internet for people to use. So that's pretty good, but I think we can go further. So what I'd like us to try to think of is a precise or specific way we would use the free internet for in a coffee shop. So remember, it has to deal with studying because that's the idea we presented. We can't go off and talk about other things right now because then the idea wouldn't fit together. But just think of this logically. When I go into any coffee house, I always see people in there on laptops. If they're studying, what on earth could they be using the internet to do? What idea comes to your mind? What's the first thing you think of? And I suggest this is fairly obvious, but we'll see. We'll see what you come up with here. So we're using free internet, but for what? That's the detail we want to add here.
Assignments.
Yes. Yeah. Don't overthink it. For assignments. Perfect. That's better than just saying we're using the internet. We're using the internet to complete assignments or to complete school projects or whatever you want to say, but something like that would focus the idea a little further. I went a little bit further even still. So I added this section in yellow. So I thought people would do online research for school projects. I took your assignment idea and I added in the online research piece. So I just really trying to get specific with my detail. So play around with your own ideas and see if you can get them as focused as you can. So our content, I think, is looking pretty good. I'm going to just sort of magically, this is how we revised it so far with the additions. But we're going to finally look at our vocab. So this is step 4 on our checklist of things to do. So just as we did before, I'd like you to have a quick skim read through. I'm going to highlight again those first 2 words we focused on, socialize and study. These are very precise and interesting word choices that focus the response. Are there other words here that you find quite precise as well, where you have no doubt what the idea is? Let's see if you can pick out a couple of words to share, and then I'll highlight them.
Sorry, what was the question, Brandy? Can you repeat the question?
Same thing. We're just looking for precise vocab. We want to do a quick check now. So we do words that make sense. Yeah.
Somebody says vacation.
Yep. Vacation planners.
Detox.
Detox is from the other response. Yeah, not in this.
Okay, so they're probably still going through the first one. Favorite.
Okay.
Vacation again. Vacation plans. Okay. Yoga.
Okay, we didn't add yoga in here, but that would have been cool if we did. Yeah, that would be an example. But from the words that we see here, what we're doing is we're proofreading. So if this was our actual response that we wrote into our test, before the time is up, I hope you read it back to yourself, double check that your words make sense and are precise and focused. So we're just doing a quick double check to make sure we've got some examples of precise vocab. So you've all found vacation plans. Somebody said favorite. Yeah, I like that word too. I'll give you just a few more moments to see if you can find some words on screen, and then I'll highlight them. Because there's lots. There's lots you can choose from here.
Hobbies.
Yes. Yeah.
Learning.
Okay.
Research.
Yes. Yeah. Let's have one more. One more.
School projects.
You got most of the ones I had. Yeah. So I also thought favorite life events with focus, vacation plans, and hobbies you mentioned. Health is always also
Mhm.
very specific. Free internet, I thought was great. Online research and school projects. So far, so good. So we do have several examples of all these words make sense, they're accurate, but they're showing that precise focus that we're aiming for. Be that as it may, I still see some improvements we could make. And this is what I want you to do on your own test. If you do find simpler words like this, if you've got time left on your clock, I want you to think of a more interesting word. So instead of saying talk about life events, because talk about is pretty simple, can we replace those words with another verb choice? Can you think of like one word that would just be a lot more interesting to add in here? Let's elevate the sophistication of our vocab. Talk about life events or
Discuss.
discuss. That's the word I got it too. There might be other choices, but again, you don't want to spend a ton of time overthinking this. This process is meant to be done fairly quickly. So right away, discuss is better than talk about. So let's just go with it and move on. The next one I definitely want to mix is this one. Use coffee shops for learning. That verb use is really simple. I don't love the word learning, to be honest, in this context. So if you don't mind, I'm going to play with that idea and rewrite it all together. This is much more interesting and high level, by the way. So young people visit cafes to complete assigned homework. You can see how that's just the whole step above. Use coffee shops for learning. So I've done that one for us. I want a different verb here. Almost every shop has free internet. No, too simple, too plain. Can we do better? Think of an action verb. Think of a strong word. Every shop, something, free internet. What would be better here? There's probably a few words I can think of.
Gives. Somebody suggested gives.
Maybe.
Oh, you're so close. There's actually another word that's close to gives that I thought
Okay.
of when you said gives.
Oh, I'm trying to think which word you mean.
Offers. Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
That's the one I thought of too. Provides would
Sure.
work. Every shop provides free internet. Every shop offers free internet. Every shop. Those are the two that come to my mind anyway. There might be others, but again, pick one. Again, going back to what we had, like has is very simple.
Provides.
Offers, provides, much better, much more focused, much stronger. This next one, I think it's easy for people to do online research. Well, people could be anything, right?
Somebody said, sorry to interrupt you. Somebody said
Yeah.
is equipped with free internet.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I haven't.
Yes, I thought so
Excellent.
too.
Yeah, is equipped with free internet. That's great. Fantastic vocab. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I'm glad you did. Okay. What kind of people are using on our free internet at a coffee house? Not the barista.
So yeah, we already got, like, before I interrupted you, I think people understood your question, so we already have answers for that. So the first answer was individuals,
Maybe.
and then guests, but I
Maybe.
guess you're looking for students.
I am. So individuals are very general. It could be anybody. But who is doing online research for school projects? Any individual could do that, but precisely it's the students who are doing this. If you wanted to get extra fancy, you could say high school students or university students if you really wanted to. But can you see that students is definitely the best choice here? It's much more focused. And the last thing I want to fix is this one. For students to do online research. Too simple. There's a word that we use in conjunction with online research. This might be new for some of you. Have you heard this? It's a collocation. A collocation in English means you take specific words and always use them together in that order. And this is one of them. When we talk about online research, we almost always say conduct. We conduct online research. So you can memorize that and use that as a grouping. So that is 100% better than do.
We have some suggestions, says carry out for research.
For students to carry out online research, you could. Conduct is much better. It's much more focused. But carry out is definitely better than to do. Yeah, that's a step up.
And then engage in. The thing with engage in is that if you're the one who's doing the research, this is what my thought process is, Mandy, correct me. But like if somebody's if you're doing the research, then you're not engaging in it. The person who's in the research is engaging in it, if you
For
know what I'm
sure.
saying, then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we engage in certain activities, but online research wouldn't be one of them. Yeah. So this is again like where we're splitting hairs. Do you know that expression? Just means like there's little 5 reasons why it can't be this, but has to be that. English is terrible for those frustrating rules. But it's a nice vocabulary choice. Like engage in sounds wonderful. It just doesn't make sense in this example. So
You could engage in discussions, I suppose.
that's right. You engage in discussions, but you conduct online research. So those are what I mean by collocations. It's certain words that go together. Like we say happy birthday. We don't say merry birthday, right? We know what you mean, but we'll have to use the word. It's kind of the same thing. Anyway, that's the idea. And again, you got choice. Like there sometimes is more than one word you can come up with. But this process we've just gone through is meant to be done relatively quickly because you've already typed the whole thing out and you're reading it back to yourself just to double check that you've got your main ideas, details to support them, your vocab looks good. And we're just about out of time, but I wanted to just put the icing on the cake, which is a casual idiom meaning let's polish this with one more element, namely coherence. So I think the whole paragraph looks pretty strong now with content and vocab. But where I'm pointing here is where those two main ideas start. That first arrow is where we talk about discussing life events and socializing. The second arrow is the discussion about the online research. So even though the ideas and vocab are wonderful, we don't have a lot of flow between the pieces. So it's customary to put in transitions when you've got multiple reasons supporting an opinion. So that very first one that starts, lots of people have a favorite coffee house. You can pick whatever transition you like, but something as simple as this would work well here. So first of all, firstly, first reason is something like that. So when the reader sees that, we understand, okay, I already know that socializing and studying has been mentioned up top, so we will be discussing those in the paragraph. So here comes the first idea. That's what the transition does for us. That second example, which starts with the word today. Today, young people visit cafes to complete their homework. It's strongly worded, but what's missing is that connection to the top piece. So I'm going to just reverse the word order. Rather than today, young people, I'm going to say young people today, because I like that word today. But what I really want to add in here is this word also. As soon as we use words like also, additionally, or in addition to, what we're telling the reader is this is another idea that goes along with what I was just talking about up top. So again, we're just fine-tuning the response and making sure the whole thing flows. I liked the word frequently as well, just to say that, not all young people visit cafes, but they often do. That's the idea I was going for. And it's a pretty interesting word too. Okay, so last but not least, I'm going to read the entire piece that we've workshopped here together from start to finish. Think back to where we started with, at the level 5. Look at it now, and we'll see that it's a much higher level, basically. It says coffee shops are common places where people meet to socialize or study. So they should stay open on Sundays. First of all, lots of people have a favorite coffee shop where they can discuss life events like vacation plans, hobbies, and health. Young people today also frequently visit cafes to complete assigned homework. Almost every shop offers free internet for students to conduct online research for school projects. So that would be your finalized product and would earn you certainly a very high score. I can't tell you exactly what level this would achieve on CELPIP since we did not complete this in a testing room. We wrote it together. I'm a CELPIP instructor, so I have an unfair advantage, right, to the average test taker. So again, we can't rate this response for all those reasons, but what we can agree upon is that this definitely demonstrates those intermediate to advanced level skills that the raters are looking for us to demonstrate. And we've sort of gone through that 5-step process over there on the left-hand side. So these are just tips to think about as you're studying from home. You can't do it all in one study session. But if you work at these things bit by bit over time, and it might take weeks or even months, depending on where you're starting from, but if you do pay attention to these important skills, I'm really hoping that you'll see some improvement in your own writing. And at the very least, you know what skills are important as far as content and vocab goes anyway on your CELPIP test. So I'm going to end it. We are a bit late today. I apologize for keeping it so long, but we got carried away with our revisions. If you do have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now quickly before we log off. So I will stop sharing my screen. Let me get out of here and come back to you. There I am. All right. Did we have any questions that we can quickly go through?
Yes. So feel free to ask your questions in the chat. Some of you have already asked your questions before. That was specific to the writing.
Philippe has a good one. I see you just come in the chat box there. That's an excellent question.
But let's go to the one that was asked first. I mean, ahead. I just started them hoping that I would get. Oh, there it is. Somebody asked if double spacing is good for a paragraph.
Yeah, that's actually, it's a fair question to ask, but when you're typing into the computer screen on CELPIP, like you would any computer, you just keep typing away until you're done the one paragraph. So you don't have to hit enter and double space anything. So you write your whole paragraph, might be 3 or 4 sentences. And then after that one paragraph, you will hit the enter key twice so that you leave one empty line, and then you'll start the second paragraph. So you're not spacing within a paragraph, you're spacing between the paragraphs. And that is super important to structure it properly so that the reader can follow. Yeah, that's kind of like a formatting question that Endo had, but it's a really good question to ask. And it's a common question. It's good to know these things, right, before you go into the testing room. So thank you for asking that.
Okay, so for a survey, can you compare the other option or only the option you chose?
You have a choice here, Arinola. Yeah. So again, remember this question we looked at today asked us if the coffee house should be open or closed on Sundays. If our opinion was let's open it Sundays, we could give 2 reasons why keeping it open would be wonderful. And then you could give a 3rd reason to show why closing it down would be a terrible idea. So it's kind of, you're looking for support to always present your own opinion, but you can give strengths of your position and weaknesses with the other choice. You cannot, however, and this actually leads into what Philippe was asking, you cannot support both positions. So please do not give a few reasons why keeping the shop open Sundays would be great, and then switch gears and start saying why keeping it closed on Sundays would be wonderful. That would be the worst thing you could do in this type of question, because the whole point is to pick a position and clearly show why you feel that way. Yeah, excellent question. Again, a very common one. You have to know these things, and I'm very pleased to see you're thinking about them now and asking us to clarify. So thank you for that, Arinola. Yeah, and Philippe's question sort of the same. I think we just answered that. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, no, it's a little different. I misread it. You're asking Philippe if the response should focus by Sundays and not other days. Yes, exactly. And again, this is so important to follow your instructions. So because it's only coffee house open or closed Sundays, that's all really you should be focused on. You don't want to start drawing in other days of the week to the point where it's distracting from your own position, right? Yeah, I would focus just on the singular topic. Again, you've only got 26 minutes to write the whole piece. So make it easy on yourself by focusing your attention and giving as much level of support for that position that you can. Yeah, good one.
Can we use news and research articles in the writing task?
Well, you can't conduct online research during your actual CELPIP test, but if you happen to have life experience that fits into supporting your position, if you happen to have recently read a news article that gives you ideas showing business models suggest that remaining open 24/7 helps businesses, like if you got those ideas from an outside news source, you can certainly bring them in as long as it supports your position. That's key. If the ideas from whatever news article you read about don't have anything to do with your own opinion, then do not include them. But yeah, you can certainly use whatever life experience supports the idea.
Okay, how often should we use connectors in writing sentences?
I think there's not really a rule per se, actually. I think it's a matter of just looking at the ideas you've got. And we did this as the final step. Now, this is the way I write. Maybe it's different from other people, but I like to get my ideas down, make sure they make sense and that they are coherent and give a good argument. And then I like to look at the whole piece, how it fits together. And you're not going to add transitions between every single sentence because it would start to sound a little bit unnatural, I think. But you're looking at making connections where it most makes sense to do so. And we generally add those transitions in to where a new idea begins. So again, in this example we rewrote, we only had 2 main ideas about socializing and studying. So right before each of those ideas in the body of the paragraph, we added a little transition. I think we said, first of all, and later on we added also and kept right on going. Yeah. So don't force transitions in just because you think you need them. Only add them in when it's actually helping the reader understand the connection between ideas. But yeah, usually it's where the new ideas begin. You want to make sure that they somehow connect back to what you were just talking about. You've all got fantastic idea questions today, I have to say. It shows me as the instructor that you understand, first of all, what's expected on the CELPIP test, and you're asking such focused questions that tells me you're working on these skills already. So that's excellent to start our season 6 this way. I think it's great.
Yeah, some really good questions. What is the recommended word count for a question like this?
Yeah, so on both writing tasks, your question always says write between 150 to 200 words. The raters will accept 10% above or below that without hampering your score. So effectively, you could write up to 220 words and still fulfill that word count range. For advanced and intermediate level writers, they usually write very close to 200 words. I don't know if you noticed when I showed you all 3 samples, I had you guess the response. The level 12 was the longest, and that's not an accident. Level 12 writers have more details to include. They also have stronger vocabulary that often includes, like groups of words together. So I think by writing closer to 200 words, you're actually showing the raters, reading through your work and giving the score, all of the tricks up your sleeve, which is an idiom, meaning all of the tools that you've got for writing. You've got more sentence structure ability, you've got more vocab and details to enhance your score. So yeah, I would try my best if it were me to get close to 200 in the time given, as long as your details make sense and answer the question that is. But yeah.
Great. Okay, so I'll just go to this question and then come back to the other question. For speaking, since this is a speaking question, should you list everything in the picture or just 2 or 3 things to save time?
You've got 60 seconds. So for speaking task 3, you're describing things that are happening in a picture. So you've got 60 seconds. You have to describe more than 1, otherwise your answer is really not complete. I would say aim for 3. There's no real rule. Aim for 3 parts of the picture. If you've got lots and lots of detail and description about those 3 parts, that might be all you have time for in 60 seconds. But if your details are a little bit lacking, you might even have time to describe 4 or even 5 parts of the scene. So keep talking till the 60 seconds is up. Just make sure that you are precisely identifying the person or thing you're describing, and even try to give like 2 or even 3 details about what they're doing. I find that that's the most interesting. Yeah, so it's kind of your judgment call, but rule of thumb is 3, usually 3 to 4 anyway. It's what most people have time to do in 60 seconds. Yeah.
Thank you. Can we use idioms in the writing task?
Yeah, you can. You might have noticed whenever I present, I often use a lot of idioms as they come to me because I try to show you how you would use them properly. Idioms are hard when you're learning any language, I think. In the writing task, if you choose to use an idiom, just be aware that idioms are casual. So if you are writing in a formal situation or to a stranger, to a boss, that kind of thing, you probably wouldn't use idioms as it would make your writing too casual. But if it makes sense to do so, if it's a colleague you know very well that you're writing to and you use an idiom and it makes sense, then that would be fine. Look at the level 9 piece of writing we looked at. They didn't use an idiom per se, but they used the casual expression, chill out. And they put that inside quotation marks. And that word made sense in the context of what they were talking about. And I think that writer recognized this word's a bit casual. So that's why they put it inside quotation marks, just to coin a phrase. So again, you certainly can. You just have to choose your words wisely. If it doesn't make sense to be casual there, then don't do it.
Thank you. And then we have this question. I actually don't know what this question means. Can we write option A and option B in the writing task too to choose our option?
I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. So remember, for writing task 2, you get option A or option B. You have to pick one of them. You can only support the one item. So do not write about both of them. Don't support, again, why the coffee house should be open, a couple great reasons. Now, why the coffee house should be closed with reasons. Don't do it that way, no, because you no longer have a position and you no longer have a coherent response that supports what you're talking about. So choose one and stick with it. Support a singular answer.
Oh, I think this person is asking if they should identify their response as being option A or option B in the paragraph.
Oh, maybe that is right. Yeah, maybe that's right. No.
No?
Please don't. I would say no. I mean, what's more interesting?
Okay.
If I was saying to you, after careful consideration, I've noticed that the coffee house isn't profitable on Sundays, so I think we should keep it closed. Or when I say to you, let's go with option B, which is more interesting and well developed to you, right? So you always want to make sure the reader knows 100% what you're talking about. Like if you just say option A, option B, we might not even remember what those are because the test instructions are being over here. What if we hadn't even read the test instructions? We have no idea what you're talking about. So yeah, always be precise. That's a good question. That's exactly what they're asking. Yeah.
I think your answer is no.
No.
Okay. So Philip, I think is your name. Clarified his question from before about can we talk about Sunday or can we talk about other days? And so what I meant was, should the reasons we offer why cafes should be open on Sundays be specific to benefits of being open on Sunday instead of benefits of being open in general?
It should focus on the Sunday still. Yeah. So why should this cafe be open on Sundays? Because it gives us more opportunity to socialize with our friends. It allows us more access to the free internet to come in if the coffee house is open all days of the week and so on. Yeah.
Okay,
always focus. The more focus, the better in every aspect of your writing, whether it's vocab, whether it's content, and so on. Always focus it down rather than go general when you can.
How many paragraphs are we expected to write?
It depends on how many main ideas you have, quite honestly. So for that, we sort of addressed both of those ideas about socializing and studying in the one paragraph today, just to keep it simple. But if you were fully extending it, you could easily write a paragraph about each of them. So the rule of thumb is every time you've got a main idea, it generally goes in one paragraph. Rule of thumb. You don't want to submit anything as one gigantic block. And again, we just did like a little section today for practice. So yeah, I can't tell you how many paragraphs to write. It always depends on how many main ideas you are. You often will have a little introduction at the beginning. You'll have maybe a short conclusion, especially in an email type situation for task 1. But the middle paragraphs is where the details come from, and they generally discuss the details separately. Yeah, so like 2 main ideas, maybe 2 paragraphs with lots of detail about each of them, that sort of thing.
Okay. How to improve your grammar structure to get to level 12?
Oh yeah, we didn't even touch on grammar today because as you can see, we've been here a while and we're just doing content vocab. So it's okay. I'll do an episode if people are interested in it on grammar structures, maybe on another day, because that is an enormous question that I honestly, as much as I'd like to, I can't answer in just 10 or 20 seconds here, Aranola. In a nutshell, simplistically, from a grammar standpoint for advanced, you're going to see very consistent complex structures. So we might have 3 phrases or ideas together, added together into one sentence with the appropriate transitions and conjunctions. So that's huge for intermediate as well as advanced level 2. From a grammar standpoint, you're going to have a variety of verb tenses. You're not just going to have simple past, simple present, simple future. You're going to have a variety. I think there are 16 verb tenses out there. So the verb tenses will make sense, but you're just, again, demonstrating as many complex structures as you possibly can. You might start adding in specialized punctuation, like you might use the odd exclamation mark or colon or parentheses and so on. So there's just so many advanced level skills that we haven't even touched on today for time's sake. But again, I'll maybe do a little episode on grammar at another point, and I can show you kind of like beginner, intermediate, advanced if it's helpful. But yeah, that's as much as we really have time to get into today and how to improve it. It's a matter of, again, you need a good model to work from. So whether you're working with a tutor, taking a class, watching videos like this to learn what you're supposed to do, and then practicing those skills yourself. You do sort of need somebody to check your work though as well, to make sure that you are actually following the skills properly. And then it's a matter of repeating the skills and practicing them over and over again. Yeah, it's hard to do that part on your own. Honestly, you do need a teacher, somebody who's proficient to help you with those. Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for questions. I know that some people are asking questions, but some of them are speaking related and some are, honestly, I don't know about this question. I'm not going to share it with you, Brandy. But yeah, some of them are unrelated and some of them don't make sense to me. So I will just skip that. But somebody did ask about immigration. What is really the pass mark for PR? So I just want to tell you that we don't know that. We don't set that. It's the IRCC, like the Canada.ca website. that sets it. So I would recommend that you go to your Canada.ca website and find out what score, what level you need, what type of score you need to be able to successfully go through your specific immigration application. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us and staying with us for so long. I really appreciate that and really am impressed by your commitment. So we will see you soon with another episode. And I haven't forgotten our trivia question, but before that, thank you, Brandy, for joining us, and I will let you go.
Okay, thanks for having me. See you next time, folks. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so trivia question was how many medals did Canada win in the Paris Olympics? And we had one right answer. So the right answer is 27 medals, 9 gold, 7 silver, and 11 bronze. And there you go, Oracle, 9 gold, 7 silver, and 11 bronze. You got that right. Congratulations. Okay, so we're getting more questions. Definitely, if it's something speaking related, join us during our speaking episode, and we'll try to answer it for you. Otherwise, I'll try to answer it in the comments as well. But you can also just talk to us on social media and we'll help you there as well. Another thing is that if there's any specific video that you'd like to see or on a specific topic, please let us know in YouTube comments or on social media or just anywhere. A lot of the episodes that we have so far a lot of them were from ideas that you shared with us. Definitely go back and see if you've done it already. But if you haven't, and if you really think it's necessary, let us know and we'll try to make an episode out of it. For those of you who are on Twitter and you have an account already, do join us, do join our community on Twitter. It's called CELPIP Tests. It's a community for test takers. So I want to make sure, like, it's an opportunity for test takers to interact with other test takers within a digital space and not have to worry about fraud. That is my main purpose of creating that community. So definitely join us there. We do also share updates and a lot of prep tips on there as well. But it's also a great place to just, hang out with like other test takers. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us and we will see you next time. Bye.